Unprecedented amounts of cocaine and marijuana are being consumed in this country.
It's a fact. They've reached the middle of society.
The port of Hamburg is one of several major gateways for cocaine across Europe.
It's expensive, it's time-consuming, but I believe every person we can save is worth it.
We need to repress it, we need a strong police force, and we need to investigate. Oh, shit.
Unlike the mafia, organized crime does not take place in secret, and that's almost like a declaration of war. They're disregarding the rule of law. Police, prosecutors, and judiciary. We need to address this effectively, or we'll permanently lose this fight.
I'm on my way from work. What is this?
The area around the main train station in Frankfurt, Germany. A business district for drug dealers and their customers, for petty criminals and addicts, where neglect and misery thrive. Spanning just 53 hectares, the neighborhood may not be large, but its streets are renowned worldwide. In the shadows of gleaming high-rises, it is notoriously known as Zombieland. Around 300 dealers provide drugs to approximately 5,000 addicts. A vicious cycle that the state is making increasing efforts to break.
In 2017, we began prioritizing the area around the station and established the Regional Operations and Investigation Unit, which has since expanded to 200 employees.
Growing repression is the result of a policy called Frankfurter Weg, the Frankfurt Way, which the authorities developed for this neighborhood back in 1989. 4 pillars on the path to normality: prevention, counseling, therapy, and several supervised injection rooms for addicts. Only almost as an afterthought does the city target the dealers. With extensive manpower that has increased in recent years, state and federal police are on constant duty with their large-scale operations, often several times a week. But despite some successes, the officers also face a major problem.
The dealers are aware of the police presence, and they get better at working undercover. For every dealer we arrest, 2 new ones appear. We need to focus on helping the addicts and on dismantling the criminal networks.
Verify identity, search, detain, and arrest. Routine for the investigation unit, and routine for the people here, at least for most of them.
What did I do? What do you want? Why? I'm on my way from work. What is this?
Also routine is that here in this record-breaking crime hotspot, around 10,000 offenses are committed every year. Mugging and assault are increasing particularly fast.
Look, that son of a bitch is filming.
It's a rough area in an increasingly rough climate. The streets around the main station have always been a popular nightlife district. Businesses and restaurants have long benefited from this. Club manager Rusbe Tusi loves his neighborhood, but now he's experiencing its decline firsthand.
This is Karlsplatz, where we opened one of our clubs years ago. We leased the space when the building was fully occupied. Now we are the only remaining tenants in the building. It's sad because we had a good relationship with our neighbors. Unfortunately, the orthopedist had to relocate because his patient stopped visiting. And the Federal Railroad Fund has also moved out. It's a real pity because it can be quite daunting to be alone in the stairwell at night. The situation has become more severe. It is widely known throughout Europe that this area is like an El Dorado for drug use and dealing. In my opinion, one of the major issues is the open drug trade. There are certain areas here where you can't take out your camera without risking harm.
Aggressive behavior is on the rise as people here seek a quicker and more intense high. Crack has become the drug of choice, and dealers have expanded and optimized their product range. The abundance of drugs and support services works like a vortex.
Frankfurt has drug consumption rooms, whereas many smaller cities don't have them. The nearest large ones are in Cologne and Bonn. There are none in Bavaria. That's why there are so many drug-related deaths there. Bavaria still has drug addicts who need support, but they all come here. So Frankfurt shoulders a significant responsibility in addressing this issue.
And they come to stay. More and more men and women struggling with addiction are relocating to Frankfurt, where surviving at least seems possible. In 1989, there were 192 drug-related deaths in the area. By 2023, the number had dropped to 32 overdose fatalities. While considered a success, experts still harbor serious doubts about the concept.
We welcome the socio-political approach and any assistance for drug addicts, as it means less work for the police and justice system. There are critics of the Frankfurt approach from the neighborhood, including business people and local residents. Some claim that the approach has failed. While we don't agree that it's failed, we acknowledge that the intended goal has not been achieved as of yet.
The Frankfurter way to nowhere. Where the state fails, volunteers step in. The street angels have been handing out food, clothing, and toiletries in the neighborhood since 2013. The queue of people in need keeps getting longer.
We always bring food for about 300 people. It's really a mix of people from the neighborhood around the station. It's not just the drug addicts who come here. There are also welfare recipients and refugees, people who don't have enough money to make ends meet.
Misery management like on an assembly line. Even business people are putting in extra shifts. Instead of lofty concepts, hands-on initiatives must do the trick. Whatever works.
This is a lemon tea, which is mostly sugar. People who come here need it because they're hungry. It raises their blood sugar level and calms them down right away. Even the police say, whenever we're here, that's when they have the least to do.
The helpers are overwhelmed with work, both around the main train station as well as inside, where the federal police are also trying to keep up in their area of responsibility. On patrol with officers Alex, Lukas, and Niklas. Insults are an everyday occurrence. People are often hostile and usually under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or both. This man has 2 outstanding arrest warrants for theft against him.
He's not cooperating right now. He's consumed a lot of alcohol, and he's not receptive to our measures yet. So we'll give him a little time to calm down, and then we'll try to approach him again.
This man has let off more than just steam.
Oh no.
I told you 3 times I need to go to the toilet. Tomorrow I'll go to the station.
He used the cell as his toilet. Sometimes they do this to protest. What can I say? We'll call the cleaner right away to clean it up. It's unpleasant for us to go in there, but there's no way around it.
The police officers are on their way to the underbelly of the main station.
Hey, buddy, you all right?
The subterranean entrances to the trains are highly frequented and beloved by drug addicts. Frankfurt's rock bottom, where the station becomes a consumption room. Paraphernalia for the next hit scattered all around.
You need to clean up.
The trash and the needles.
Possession of hard drugs is a punishable offense, but the representatives of law and order have their focus on order for now.
When we ask them to clean up, they actually do it. We just need to remind them. Then they understand that they can't leave their trash lying around. However, as you can see, it doesn't always work.
The city usually chooses not to prosecute drug addicts.
Repression is essential. It has to be directed against the dealers, but not against the users. You won't be able to come to a binding agreement with addicts because they are ill. Heroin addiction is a disease, so you can't just tell them, please abide by the law, don't consume or buy drugs.
Certainly not when the controversial Frankfurter Weg is paved with crack cocaine. This mixture of cocaine and baking powder has drug users under its spell and the authorities at a loss. The only ones benefiting are the drug dealers, who have factored in the constant police raids.
Hands behind your back.
You have to consider the resources available to the police and judiciary to intervene in this situation. How likely is it that a dealer will be arrested? And how likely is it that he can make money? The ratio seems to be disproportionate. In other words, it is still attractive for dealers to come to Frankfurt and sell drugs.
Decay and crime loom at every corner. The city of Frankfurt's website enticingly states, in the bars and establishments of this vibrant multicultural neighborhood, the nightlife is thriving. Hamburg, a bustling city seemingly far away from chaos and decay. Its port, the third largest in Europe, works like a well-oiled machine on the surface. 4 million containers arrive here each year, carrying 100 million tons of sea freight, as well as large quantities of drugs. Hamburg's gateway to the world is a smuggling corridor for cocaine, causing a significant problem for the city.
The port in Hamburg is the main entry point for organized crime in Germany, similar to the ports in Belgium and the Netherlands.
According to Europol, the problem came with a warning. International drug gangs are seeking the path of least resistance to circulate illegal substances worth billions of dollars. Following Antwerp, the #1 cocaine spot, and Rotterdam, Hamburg has become Europe's third largest transshipment point. In 2023, the city set a new and dangerous record with 34 tons of seized cocaine. Hamburg must step up its game.
More cocaine is being produced, leading to an increased number of confiscations. We still don't have more customs officers or better methods. At the same time, the smuggling networks are constantly coming up with more sophisticated methods and strategies to evade detection and smuggle cocaine into Germany. They even hide liquid cocaine in coal. Law enforcement agencies involved in disrupting smugglers need to be creative to combat drug traffickers.
And drug traffickers are very creative. There are millions of potential hiding places. The Container Testing Facility, CPA, has been a reliable weapon in the fight against smugglers. Since 1996, Customs has been randomly screening containers and tractor units similar to baggage checks at the airport. But here, the XXL X-ray machine they use is a good 50 times more powerful. Today, the officers are inspecting a container full of canned tuna from Ecuador, looking for any unusual patterns.
The variations in color result from differences in packing size and density. For instance, you can see a slightly lighter color in the middle. Comparing this with the top view reveals a cavity, which is due to the packing method.
Nothing unusual here. But that's not always the case. This container of bananas has also just arrived from Ecuador.
You can see the curved bananas here. If you turn the pallet 90 degrees, the bananas look like this. Then next to the door, things look completely different. Something is off. You can clearly see the individual packages of cocaine.
The customs officers can adjust the sharpness and contrast of the images, zoom in on details, and inspect the containers from various angles. This is how, in 2022, they discovered 2.6 tons of cocaine.
The cocaine arrives through various methods. One method is the rip-off technique, where traders unknowingly import cocaine along with regular goods, like bananas, from South America to Germany. Organized crime often uses sea containers to smuggle drugs, opening and resealing the containers before they are shipped, without anyone noticing.
Time and again, South America. Customs inspect goods originating from cartel strongholds with a particularly keen eye. Sometimes.
There were irregularities with the goods which have already been unloaded. We'll inspect them now, so let's go and take a look.
Drug-sniffing dog Fritz is ready to go to work. And indeed, it looks like someone has tampered with the cargo.
Typically, the pallets should look like these ones over here. The edges should be secured and the straps tightly fastened. But with these pallets, some of the straps are missing, and some boxes have been opened or lifted.
The process is laborious and time-consuming, requiring a lot of manpower. Despite the effort, no drugs are found. In Antwerp, 100 additional staff inspect every single container arriving from South America using 6 mobile scanners. Meanwhile, the Port of Hamburg still relies on random checks and the accuracy of the container inspection system. Nevertheless, it does boast Hamburg's largest find in 2021. 16 tons of cocaine, hidden in canisters disguised as grout sealer, with an estimated street value of 1.2 billion euros. A remarkable coup. However, experts believe that for every ton confiscated, 9 tons of narcotics make it past customs and eventually onto the streets of Hamburg. Gangsta rappers also claim their stake in the city, posing with their bling-bling in their songs and in real life too, according to investigators.
Werden gejagt von Justiz, mache Geld wie Bellagio, an der Kochonis 9 Milliarden. Sind maskiert für Familie, moin Jungs auf Straße, wir sind kriminal. Drucken den RS6, tragen die Royal Oak, Wix im Gepäck, ja, the world is yours.
The group call themselves Haus 3, which is a cultural center in the district of Altona. With a daycare center and workshops, it serves as the recurring backdrop in the gang's violent videos. They're not the type of celebrities a cultural center wants to be associated with. Jan Reinecke, chairman of the Hamburg Association of German Criminal Investigators, has been observing the gang's activities for years.
This group consists mainly of criminals involved in drug dealing, particularly cocaine and marijuana, here in Hamburg. They're not associated with House Dry, but some of these individuals first met there as adolescents.
5K Kasse jeden Tag mal auf die Kralle. Brichst du diesen Brick, dann siehst du Glitzer wie Kristalle. Ich schieß für meinen Bruder Kalle, weil Hochzeit ist auf Malle. Ich mach das nicht für einen Bruder, ich mach das für alle. Auf viele junge Menschen wirkt das unglaublich anziehend.
This lifestyle is very appealing to many young people. They want to be a gangster or a cool rapper, carrying a gun, driving fast cars and wearing an expensive watch. So basically, this whole image works like a large-scale ad campaign.
A highly perilous milieu that's not just good at marketing.
Nowadays, these groups use firearms all the time. It's not enough to simply display the Glock or pistol you have to use it. As a result, there are now frequent conflicts in Hamburg involving deadly shootings.
In the past 18 months, there have been 5 street shootings, causing 1 death and multiple injuries. Investigators believe at least 3 of the incidents are linked to the gangs around Haus 3. Power struggles over drugs becoming more and more heated. Fighting over who can sell which drugs to whom where.
The drug trade in Hamburg presents a significant opportunity for profit. Not only in Hamburg, but throughout the whole of Germany, drug consumption is a widespread issue, particularly of cocaine and marijuana. Drug use has never been this high. We estimate that 100 billion euros are laundered by organized crime in Germany every year. That's 100 times 1,000 million euros.
Still, the cartels can't get enough. There's a surge in cocaine arriving from South America and a growing demand from European consumers. The port of Hamburg is a key gateway with high growth potential and tens of thousands of employees potentially at risk.
Corruption is a main factor as to why drugs can be smuggled into the city. Some port employees work with criminal networks for money, others are being threatened. This is a security challenge. All countries in the EU must ensure the security of their ports to combat organized crime.
Posters and videos appeal to employees of the Hanseatic port to do the right thing. But that may not be enough.
The state is weakening, becoming increasingly inefficient and vulnerable to organized crime. This is a nightmare scenario that we don't have yet, but that we must prevent from happening.
Antwerp and Rotterdam, both mega hotspots for smugglers, are investing more in staff, technology, and AI. The German hotspot of Hamburg, on the other hand, seems to be standing idly by. North Rhine-Westphalia is a federal state with multiple hotspots and ongoing efforts to combat criminal activity, or at least to gain an overview. Criminal gangs and clans are taking advantage of areas undergoing structural change, where real estate is cheap. The Ruhr area between Duisburg, Essen, and Dortmund is known for its dangerous neighborhoods and large Arab families. Clan criminals are officially documented by name here. A controversial zero-tolerance policy called the pinprick method aims to enforce strict rules without exceptions. Neither small nor large crimes are tolerated. The inventor of this strategy, the state's Minister of the Interior, Herbert Reul, has made a name for himself.
The concept is based on 3 pillars, so-called pinpricks, investigations, and prevention. We need to make clear that this type of crime will not go unchallenged. We demonstrate that with 1,000 small pinpricks. Offenders need to learn. Whenever they commit a violation of the law, they're immediately faced with some form of sanction, whether big or small. Lastly, it involves us keeping them on their toes, according to the motto, "The state won't be fooled."
And these officers are doing the pricking. Police, tax investigators, and customs. The state of North Rhine-Westphalia is prepared to carry out raids around the clock to unsettle the milieu.
This is the Nordstadt neighborhood in Dortmund, where various groups conduct their illegal businesses. There are people here who are affiliated with criminal clans.
300 to 600 raids every year. Experienced customs officer Norman Wiesemeyer is familiar with the numerous bars and clubs and their various owners. They're often used to the procedure, as are the guests. No one tries to escape or resist. A small success at the end of an elaborate operation.
My goodness. Holy cow. You can immediately detect the strong scent of water pipe tobacco in the air. Here's the preparation room. The bag also holds untaxed tobacco. In the trash, we have the usual pirated, illegally produced Al-Fakir brand water pipe tobacco.
It's a tried and tested business model. Dealing with counterfeit, untaxed shisha tobacco is highly profitable.
When we first started, people here were unaware that tobacco products were subject to taxation.
Bars like this are often places where dubious people hang out, socialize, and connect with others.
It is quite appealing to open shisha bars in certain areas to create meeting points, to expand, and to have a place where you can actively engage and present yourself. It ties back to family honor, family structure, and to traditional Arabian coffeehouse culture. These places serve as meeting points for many people, but unfortunately they are also used by some to plan criminal activities.
Criminal activities that, with great effort, can sometimes be uncovered. But that doesn't mean the criminals will be prosecuted. Investigators discovered that the notorious Al-Zain clan was involved in illegal activities with its shisha factory. Ingredients for 40 tons of hookah tobacco with a market value of over 2 million euros were confiscated. But it didn't make much of a difference. This clan and others have even broadened their base.
We have been investigating clan-affiliated criminal structures for 17 years. We have found that they are involved in everything from drug trafficking and selling counterfeit medicines to smuggling cigarettes and water pipe tobacco. The last two often occur together and form the basic framework for any criminal activities.
The illegal shisha factory was disassembled and then stored away for what seemed like an eternity. It wasn't until 6 years after the successful raid that 4 brothers from the Al-Zain clan were sentenced to several years in prison.
The police and the public are frustrated seeing these prolonged legal proceedings. This is not what you would call a functioning rule of law. Some lawsuits, including homicides, are dragging on for years.
An overburdened judiciary has long been a nationwide issue. In North Rhine-Westphalia, the home state of strong concepts, more and more often, zero tolerance is having zero impact. New players have entered the scene, and they're quickly rendering the rule of law in the Ruhr area obsolete. October 2023. a violent altercation between members of Syrian and Turkish-Lebanese clans, involving 2x4s, iron bars, knives, and fists, like right out of TV. The bloody street battles in Essen continue into the next day, leaving several police officers injured and raising concerns about the state's ability to maintain law and order.
It happens less nowadays, but one slip-up is enough to shake everything up again. Years ago, there was a riot in Essen every week. Now it's once or twice a year. That's quite a difference. But it still happens. Some may feel like giving up, but we're doing everything we can. It's a long road we're on. It's a marathon.
After the street battles, a total of 169 criminal proceedings were initiated and dropped later on. Clan members refused to testify against each other.
There's this set of rules rooted in patriarchy, designed to uphold family honor above everything else. Clan members are willing to go to extreme lengths, including violence and even homicide, to protect family honor. These traditional values and norms come from their homeland and continue to be upheld. There is little regard for the basic law.
Clans make their own laws. In defiance of the police and German law, an imam is calling the shots. Parallel justice made in Germany. This, too, a public demonstration of their power.
They say we settle everything on our own. The law of the family is above the law of the state. They don't want to play by our rules. Instead, they have justices of the peace because they think they can handle everything themselves. Don't worry about it, we'll sort everything out. Yeah, but we can't accept that. That's arbitrary rule.
One thing, at least, is sorted. The crime statistics give a sobering summary of a country fighting for more security. There's a concerning increase in young people involved in criminal activities. Now, prevention projects like the Turn the Corner initiative are working to address the issue with some success.
Someone insulted me, and I couldn't let it go. I broke his nose to defend my pride. It's not something I boast about. When I was 14, I used to want to show strength and be seen as an adult.
This is how Suray, 19 today, took a wrong turn early on, fare dodging, threats, and grievous bodily harm. It led to 2 weeks in jail. Time to reflect.
After I got out, I said to myself, enough. Don't hang out with those fake friends. Don't go into that fake circle. Do something good, so that your parents can be proud of you, so I can be proud of myself.
Participation in the Turn the Corner project requires parental consent. Often, police and social workers have to do some convincing.
An important aspect of my educational work is to ensure that families and young people understand that we're not subject to mandatory criminal prosecution. We focus on educational work. We don't report past events. That fosters trust, and it lays the ground for cooperation.
A method that is being copied. Sweden has recently embraced the model. 98% of participants like Suray have turned the corner and changed their lives. But rarely are any young clan members among them.
Undoubtedly, there are heads of families who are worried about their children being involved in criminal activity. They make up the majority. But there are also individuals who are at risk of becoming serious offenders. It may not be effective to reach them with the current models. While it's worth trying, and not a waste of resources, we shouldn't be under any illusions that this approach alone will prevent young people from becoming prolific offenders. It's worth it for the one person you can help. It's expensive and hard work, but I don't know of a better way.
The Herbert Reul method, the pinprick approach, is a tedious business with only moderate success. And so the fight against organized crime in Germany's largest state is largely driven by hope.
When your own life is no longer enjoyable because of constant disturbances, and if someone in your family is frequently in court, arrested, or even convicted, it makes you question whether this is the life you truly want. This is somewhat speculative, but I want to be hopeful. I don't know any alternative.
In Berlin, integrating clans seems hopeless as parallel societies are firmly established. About 20 families compete for influence. The clan's crimes are becoming more and more sensational. Berlin's syndicates are particularly eager to flaunt their strength and to undermine the German state's authority.
Studies show that 65% of the population believes in the constitutional state. Maybe that sounds good, but this also means that 1/3 no longer has this trust. This concerns me, as I see tools being used to undermine our democracy and the rule of law. Everyone, especially government officials, should be alarmed.
The Remo clan, originally from Lebanon, with around 500 members, is infamous for outmaneuvering German law enforcers. In 2017, two brothers from the clan stole the 100-kilogram Big Maple Leaf gold coin, worth almost 4 million euros, from the world-famous Bode Museum. Its whereabouts remain unknown. The brothers were eventually convicted, but only after a lengthy trial. As the proceedings dragged on, one of the criminals had ample time to commit another heist. He helped rob the Green Vault in Dresden, later returning only part of the 114 million euros worth of treasures in exchange for a reduced sentence. It's a prestige win, but not for the state.
Hier geht es darum, dass Kulturwerte und Schätze unserer Gesellschaft
The cultures, values, and treasures of our society have been attacked, sending a clear signal of rejection. They could have chosen items that would have been easier to sell in the black market, but they targeted and stole our cultural treasures. By bypassing our security measures, they aim to prove that they are smarter than us. That's the first point. The second point is that these treasures are irretrievably gone, proud symbols of our history. Our history is being stolen, and this clearly demonstrates that their theft is not just a financial move, but a direct attack on our society. And this needs to be acknowledged.
Whether orchestrating a big coup or staging small power demonstrations, time and again the criminal milieu gives the state the finger. Like in the peaceful Berlin district of Bukow, where 130 emergency services are handling the eviction of a villa where the Remo clan used to live. This is one of 77 properties Berlin had already confiscated in 2018. The tug of war over them only ended in 2024. And now all that remains is a heap of scrap and a great deal of frustration.
We comply with the law. This building was occupied for a long time. It was not handed over voluntarily, and it was in a very bad condition when the state of Berlin ultimately got it.
Clan leader Issa Remo, not directly involved in the thefts, cleans up hands-on before the eviction. The family left behind a presumably fake Chopard watch hanging on the gate, hinting at the stolen jewelry they refuse to return. It's a taunting suggestion that they are keeping the real jewels for themselves.
This situation clashes with the public sense of justice, and we can't ignore that. I believe people are right to discuss it. Our sense of justice has been seriously undermined. The state has failed to demonstrate its ability to fully address these organized crime groups. That is unacceptable.
Large property owners like the Remo clan aren't required to disclose the source of funds for their real estate transactions. In Germany, clans live more freely than the mafia does in Italy, innocent until proven guilty. Illicit money also flows from Berlin's major drug dealing centers, including Görlitzer Park and Cottbusser Tor. In February 2023, a separate police station was set up at Cottbusser Tor, also known as Cotti, a high-risk area plagued by rampant crime. Initially, only a single officer volunteered to be stationed there.
Hey, man! Get your hands away from his head! Stop it!
The first step is to take the person to one side and check his papers. We have to de-escalate the situation.
A tricky task. Anyone wearing a uniform around here in this traditionally multicultural and left-leaning neighborhood is quickly accused of racial profiling.
The issue comes up immediately, no matter what the police do when they intervene. Xenophobia always comes up. We have to counter it while being transparent about our mistakes, openly addressing and accepting criticism. That's what the police should do.
The workload surpasses the officers' capacity. Surveys show that residents have accepted the new police station, but crime rates continue to rise.
You will be black and blue, I swear!
Cotti has had a large and open drug scene for decades. Dealing with this reality is part of our daily routine. This is what our day-to-day work in this department looks like.
Living near Berlin's #1 drug hotspot, Görlitzer Park, is intense. Dealers lurk on every corner. For decades, the park was neglected by law enforcement and feared by the district. The police now spend 10,000 hours a year trying to regain control. Each week, a special police unit, BPE, conducts up to 5 drug searches in the surrounding streets to apprehend dealers.
Everything we confiscate, even the smallest amount, means one dose less that can be sold to children and young people. This is why we do it.
One must remain humble in the face of the sheer scale of drugs and crime. The streets around Görlitzer Park are frequently closed for search operations, which require significant personnel and are costly. This is all unfolding in a financially strained capital city, where the police is kept on a short leash and a tight budget.
Berlin needs more personnel. However, the city's financial struggles could lead to a rise in organized crime. There's not even enough room to accommodate more prison inmates. There are shortages everywhere. At the end of the day, I don't know how we will address these challenges.
For the time being, the police are chasing the criminals wherever it may lead them.
The toilets are frequently misused for drug consumption. There are times when groups of up to 15 people gather in these toilets to consume, share, and pass on narcotics and materials for shooting up. There's an increased risk of infection for all users of the toilet.
Skepticism towards the police is high in this neighborhood, particularly when individuals with a migrant background are being checked.
Don't be alarmed, I'm going to search your groin now. This is necessary. They are not groups of perpetrators, but people seeking community. For example, if I came from Gambia, I would look for people with whom I can speak Gambian. That's how places with a specific ethnic clientele come about. They're about origin, not crime.
Even if they can't completely curb the flood of drugs, the controls do appear to be making a small difference.
I believe the public supports these police measures because, for those who live here, the feeling of insecurity has increased significantly.
Positive interactions with citizens in the hotspot area mean an unfamiliar sense of achievement for the Gurley Patrol. But their success in combating dealers and drugs remains modest.
We confiscated nearly 900 ecstasy pills last year, which is a significant amount. They've become prevalent and are found everywhere, citywide. This is not just limited to Görlitzer Park. It's a widespread phenomenon.
There is clear evidence of a nationwide rise in crime. Statistics, criminal records, and situation reports all highlight this dangerous trend. And politicians have comprehensive documentation, evidence of their own failure.
Dealing with crime is like running a marathon. Occasional sprints trying to appease the media and the public won't solve the issue. We need a long-term strategy to address crime. We're only at the beginning of this journey. Hotspots need to stay in focus, and it's essential for the professionals, the police, prosecutors, and judiciary to deal with them. We must address these issues effectively, or else we risk losing this battle for good.
The prospects for the entire country are grim. In Hamburg, the port risks becoming a gateway for South American drug cartels. In Frankfurt, the Frankfurter Weg model has hit a dead end. North Rhine-Westphalia faces a surge in criminal activities driven by clans and gangs, with the pinprick approach seeming only to fuel their activities. Meanwhile, in the hotspot capital, Berlin's local government struggles with security issues while contemplating budget cuts for police. Decades of fighting hotspots have led to more drugs, increased destitution, rising crime, and very little hope.
I believe that in 10 years, Germany will face more social difficulties due to the government's current failure to effectively integrate immigrants. This has led to a rise in various crimes, including violent ones. While there may be underlying reasons for these problems, they remain unjustifiable.
I'd like to see fewer high-crime areas. This would not only satisfy prosecutors, but also benefit the police. It's possible, though I may need to express more confidence than I feel. We'll never create a world completely free of crime. As long as there's money to be made from drugs, some people will continue to do so. The business will only cease to exist when there's no profit because drug use has disappeared. But that's a fantasy.
And so, citizens in and around Germany's hotspots continue to dream of a state that can effectively combat crime and deterioration.